business to new insane revenue levels doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's all about the right strategy, team, efficiencies, and confidence. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution podcast. With over 1 million downloads, it's the go-to business podcast dedicated to business owners who want to evolve out of operating in the day-to-day and make their dreams come true. I'm your host, Annette Walter, and I'm so happy you are here. As a former banker, I have now been an entrepreneur for over 15 years and have started, grown, acquired, and sold over 20 multi-million-dollar companies to date. Together, you and I will strengthen your existing business, build your dream team and process, grow your wealth and legacy, all while surrounding you with a community of rockstar entrepreneurs just like yourself. Are you ready to evolve? Let's get started. Hi there, entrepreneur. Welcome to today's episode. I am really excited to be here. Thanks for joining us on the Entrepreneur Evolution podcast. Today's interview is incredible. I am joined by Carrie Siu Butt. She is the CEO of SimpleHealth. And when I tell you, honestly, I was brought to tears a couple times on this interview. I really was. I was touched. Her story is so moving. She's strong and she's making a huge impact in healthcare with her goods and services, and she's just getting started. There is no stopping her. You will find this story to be inspiring, and I know it will definitely strike a chord and give you whatever you're looking for today to learn more about scaling a business quickly to huge new numbers and really kind of finding that personal drive to keep going. So enjoy today's episode with Carrie and make sure you leave a comment. I am so grateful for the reviews, for you liking, for you subscribing, for you sharing with your friends, with your team, with your other entrepreneur friends out there in the community. We are all in this together and we need to continue really supporting each other and making sure that we are moving forward and we are making great things happen. So enjoy today's episode. Keep evolving, entrepreneur. I'm here if you need me. Make sure you reach out if you have any questions or need to schedule some time to talk about you and your business. There is nothing greater than objective coaching that you can get in your business. And in fact, Carrie talks a little bit about that today. So make sure you pay special listen to that part. I think you'll really enjoy what she shares. Enjoy today's episode. I'll talk to you soon. Well, welcome, Carrie. How are you?
I'm great, Annette. How are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. What a wonderful way to start the week. I'm so happy you are here. We are joined today by Carrie Siu Butt, and she is the CEO of SimpleHealth. And this is a fascinating space, a fascinating story. I can't wait to learn more about you and share your story with our audience. So thanks for being here, Carrie.
Thanks, Annette. I don't know if an hour is enough to hear all about Carrie, but we can definitely sprinkle a little Carrie along with the business talk. But I'm really excited to be here today. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I always let my guests really start wherever they want to start in your story. You can take us back as far as you want, but give us the Cliff's Notes version, and then we'll dig in a little bit deeper to the business growth and how we can help others in the audience.
Sure. Thanks, Annette. So I'll try and give you the 3 to 5 minute version. Again, Carrie Siu Butt, my pronouns are she, her, CEO of SimpleHealth. I was originally, I'm from the Caribbean. I moved to the States when I was 10, and I got sick with a rare disease called dystonia when I was 12. And the reason why I always bring that story up is for 2 reasons. Number one, I truly believe in grit and resiliency. And number two, it really has come full circle into my passion in healthcare. So dystonia is a rare disease. I have been in and out of hospitals and movement disorder clinics for over the last 35 years. It's very similar to Parkinson's. I call it the cousin of Parkinson's. I lost the ability to walk with one foot, to write with my right hand, and my speech was very inaudible. But Carrie being Carrie, when I lost use of my right hand, I just started writing with my left hand. I didn't even think twice about this is an odd decision. So I just figured out yep, this one doesn't work. I've got to back up. Let's use that one. Wow. So never used my disability as a crutch. I went on to go to UNC Chapel Hill, went to work on Wall Street, went to Stanford to get my MBA, And all along, doctors kept on telling me what I shouldn't be doing, what I can't be doing. And every time they said that, I was like, really? Because I'm going to show you how I can do it. I even had one doctor tell me, like, you know what, you shouldn't really be going to business school. And I'm like, no, but I'm going to. And so once I started off my career in Wall Street, I was obviously trying to balance my health with my career. And unfortunately, I refused to take a lot of medication because one of the side effects was you'd fall asleep in the day. And I always said to my neurologist, I just spent a lot of money getting an MBA. I can't necessarily sleep at meetings to be fired. And so in 16 years ago, I had deep brain stimulation where I had brain surgery for 8 hours. And as I looked up to the universe, I made a very nice deal with the universe. And I said, if I could ever walk again, I would do two things. Number one is I would run a 10K. And the second thing would be I would dedicate myself to health and wellness. 6 weeks later in New York, was walking down a block that would take me 45 minutes to walk. Walked it in 5 minutes, realized, holy crap, I just walked. And so I quit my job 4 months thereafter because I did make a promise to the universe, and started my career in health and wellness.
I'm like tearing up. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I did make the universe. So I went to work at a bunch of fitness companies. And then lastly, before SimpleHealth, was at a company called Medcan in Canada, where I worked on the intersection of mental health, physical health, and nutrition and food, because it all really is, it's like, sacred pyramid. But all the piece that I'm most proud of during all that too is I did run 13 half marathons and 2 full marathons. And the second marathon was in New York City, and I ran past Mount Sinai, and I kid you not, Annette, like I fell to my knees, and I had this like second where I was like, Carrie, like, you still haven't found your purpose. Like, you need to go to healthcare. And so I got back up. I finished a very long 26.2 miles, went back to Canada, quit my job, and decided that I had to sort of find my way into a digital healthcare company. Because I knew that that was sort of the play that the US sort of technology infrastructure was enabling. But second of all, I just know that when people are differently abled, having the ability to basically get your healthcare online is something that really can break away a lot of barriers, right? So for me, bringing it fully back to SimpleHealth, that's what we do. We do digital health online. We do telemedicine. We send you a prescription so you can truly never leave your house and get your birth control delivered to your house. So I'm super proud of that. That's my long story short, but it is pretty much the essence of who I am and why I do what I do. And it's my grit is a blessing and a curse sometimes. But for the end of the day, like helping over 150,000 patients in need of our services has been one of my proudest moments after my brain surgery.
Wow. That's an incredible story. And there's so much there. I have so many questions I want to ask you right now. Oh my goodness. So I want to rewind to Wall Street and what that felt like when you were in that grind, that speed, knowing, hearing these outside voices, right? Telling you can. Obviously your fuel is like, okay, go ahead and watch me, right? So what was that like for you as a woman in Wall Street? Because that was probably like, what year was that?
That was 1997. So I always tell myself that I was living in the closet then. Like I never said the word disabled. I never actually said till I joined this company. I hid that piece of me. And I think as I look back of it, my disease actually got worse when I was on Wall Street. Because to your point, like I was not sleeping. I was not taking care of myself. I did have a bunch of really great girlfriends that were analysts as well. So I always come back to my tribe, right? Like I remember, and I was laughing with one of my best friends, who's not my best friend, that I went to the doctor, and back in the day, we used to get Botox shots, like with a needle this big in my legs. That's really what Botox was meant for, right? Not the way I use it today, but for really like, and she would slip out of work and she would meet me and brought like Ben and Jerry's at my house. She'd let me cry for an hour. She'd be like, Carrie, get it out. And we'll go back to work and turn the document. So I would say just having that tribe of like really incredible women, like just remind me of who I was and not really the situation I was in and just allowed me to cry was so
Mhm.
cathartic that that's why I work so hard. And I mean, I'm sure we'll come back to this, but my goal in life at this company is not to IPO. I mean, all that's part of the job, but my goal in life is that like when moms or other people listen to like your podcast, that they can go back and tell their little girls or their little boys that like, you know what, being differently abled is such a superpower that I
Mhm.
just heard this kick-ass woman on this podcast saying
Mhm.
what she could do and not what she couldn't do. And that's always been my like,
Mhm.
how I've been so resilient to focus on what I can do. Which again, like I said to you before, it's a little bit stubborn, and my parents would probably tell you they probably want to just, hit me over the head a couple of times. But at the end of the day, everyone's so freaking proud of where I am as a human that I have to give myself credit that I'm extremely proud of like the way I've been able to use my mind to overcome obstacles.
Absolutely. Total strength there. It's amazing. So, I like how you said and using differently abled because it's so important. And everyone has someone in their life very special to them that has something going on. I know I do. My son has type 1 diabetes, and that's our thing that we go through, and the language and making him so mentally strong that there's nothing holding him back is beyond important. That's what gets him through, right? So walk us through the rapid growth. Okay. So fast forward right now to the company SimpleHealth. What did it feel like when it started, and when did you know those big leaps to make, the hiring, the growth modules? Like, walk us through what that's like to help the audience as they're building their businesses out there.
Great question, Annette. So I joined the company. One of the co-founders was asked to step down. They started off the company as a contact lens company,
Okay.
and somehow they decided, hey, let's just try birth control.
Give
And
us a year here. What year were we talking?
they started the company in 2015, and I joined the company in 2020, February
Okay.
24th.
So they had
And,
started 2015. You joined 2020 to replace the existing co-founder. Okay, got it.
and I say that piece of it because February 24th, imagine first time CEO walking into an office, reading all the news, and I had been through 9/11 in 2008. So in my gut, I knew exactly how the story was going to end. So I shut
Mhm.
down the office, I believe it was March 6th, before we even went to shelter in place. And I cut my salary, I think it was the third day of my job.
Mhm.
And I wrote the board an email. I'm like, you don't know me, but I've seen this story before. So here's what I'm going to do. And I really want your full support. And so at that point, we cut the management team salaries, we throttled, we figured out a plan that like once we saw that the country was still going to be in the place that it was, 2020 was just all about like getting our patients what they needed. Like it wasn't about, CAC, LTV, it was just really being there for our patients. And when I said to my management team, if we help people, the goodness will come, right? And of course it did. We grew, I want to say 800% year over year. And then from last year, this year, we're growing another 100%. So the numbers I put up from when like we've grown 20x in 24 months. If I
Mhm.
knew what I knew today, I probably would have slowed down our growth a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, but really, it was never in my mind, it was never about like, profit or loss or revenue growth. It was just all about helping people with ovaries in need that, I tell people all the time that like birth control is a prescription, right? It's endometriosis, PCOS, perimenopause, which I'm in. And so just knowing how awful those sort of like how when you feel when you don't have your OCPs or your contraceptive prescriptions, that like it just didn't dawn on me that we just had to do it. So
Mhm.
last year, as I sort of see some momentum of what people need in this country, we are on the cusp of launching fertility preparedness and perimenopause in literally a month.
Mhm.
Because we do believe that like it's just not chapters, it's one continuous book, it's one continuous journey, right? So we want to walk with that person on their journey to be a source of expert knowledge. We don't want you to go on Google anymore. We want you to come to us. So big goal, big dream. But like I
Love
tell
it.
people all the time, I don't know
Love it.
how if we had to dream small, I would never be here right now. And so
Right.
again, and also a piece of it in that too is for people in the audience that you know who don't know me, is I'm very much open about these things because
Mhm.
we're taught as a society we can't talk about it. We can't, you know, we have to whisper on like brunch tables. Now I speak very openly. My girlfriend's like, Carrie, shh. I'm like, why are you shushing me? Like,
Mhm.
you know, like we need to be okay to talk about these things. This is
Mhm.
just part of who we are. Like, why are you embarrassed that like, you're going through perimenopause? It's fantastic. We
Mhm.
know who we are. We have resources to help us. So I just really want to have women and people with ovaries really carry on the conversation of
Mhm.
how special these times are for us, right? And so
Mhm.
that's part of what we're trying to do in 2022. Big, hairy, audacious goal, but I feel really good that with the right team, we can get there.
Well, and I love the quote unquote birth control niche that you're in, but where you just took it with your BHAG is, because when women are in that perimenopausal stage, they don't know where to go for resources, right? Unless you're going to your doctor and then they're just kind of throwing a trifold at you and you're like, okay, what do I do? Um, and it's such a missed mark out there in the marketplace. You're so right. So, so tell us about that. You're launching this, you said, as we speak almost, right? It's in the
Yeah,
stages.
yeah.
So what types of things should, because we have majority listeners of women, what
Mhm.
types of resources would you say are out there, or what kind of guidance would you say right now that you are able to speak about for those different chapters?
Yeah, so we're going to give all our content away for free,
Mhm.
written by our chief medical officer and other medical writers.
Mhm.
We are really trying to be quote unquote accessible. So we don't want price to be a barrier to knowledge. We believe
Mhm.
that knowledge should be free. Um, in the first version, we're going to do I would just say some low hanging fruit to make sure that we're getting the market right. And
Mhm.
then over the course of the year, you'll see different iterations as we stand up, or I'd say more and more building blocks on those two sort of life stages. It hasn't been easy though in that. Like I make it seem so easy sometimes on these podcasts when I hear myself. It's been a journey, right? Like I think the big secret that people don't tell entrepreneurs and future CEOs is that like the people management piece of it is really hard. And now in the time and stage we are in, it makes it even more difficult.
Mhm.
Right. And so I just want your audience to hear that because people come across like, oh my God, like life is great. Like I want to be, and then like
Right.
the real underbelly is you work really hard.
Mhm.
You're checking your phone a lot and you really have to work it into your life to not check your phone, right?
Mhm.
And people management, even though you think you got it right in the hiring process, like I've made so many mistakes that I'm working on for this year. And I reflect a lot. I'm like, what did I miss here in that interview? Like, what did I do wrong? So
Mhm.
I do believe that that piece of the business, no one ever really talks about. So I'm really going to stand up on my pulpit this year and really talk about the incredible goodness it is when you get a hire right and how hard it is for you mentally when
Mhm.
you get a hire wrong, right? So that to me is really one of the biggest learning tools I had in 2021 was the hiring piece of it.
How big is the team now?
When I started, I think we're like 65 an hour, 200.
Yeah, it's like that's a lot of growing pains, right?
Growing pains, I would say in terms of shifting cultures,
Mhm.
right? Like no one, again, something people are just like, oh, culture is great. And you give away free cereal and it's going to be fantastic. It's not that, right? I mean, you laugh, but like it's not the free cereal. It's really having a philosophy of top down, right? And really, I would say for me being at the top, checking myself at the door, um, I balancing the notion of empathy and doing right for the business. And I tend to skew really high on the empath sometimes. So like when I have to like let someone go, like it eats at me for 3 days. Like I don't
Oh yeah.
eat. I literally can't eat. I can't sleep. My
Mhm.
executive coach is like, Carrie, like this is just your job. And I'm like, doesn't make it any easier, right?
Mm-mm.
And so those are the things I feel like when I think about people and I think the other thing too, and as you talked about the growth and scale, as the leader and as the entrepreneur, you also have to change your shift too, right? And it's
Yes.
telling someone this over the weekend. Like I used to know everyone in the company, and then I hit a point where I knew 50%, and I got really sad about it. I'm like, but Carrie, like you can't hold yourself to such a crazy high standard
Mhm.
because it's in a couple years from now, it's gonna be like 1,000. Like, so it's just like I have to constantly change my mindset too.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's another place where I see if leaders don't change that mindset or level up every time they change the dynamics of the team, it's a huge pitfall, right? So the
Right.
last thing I say, and I'll be quiet, but the last thing I say is your management team is like a bowl of soup, right? It can be, you can put cilantro in it and the entire flavor changes. And so
Mhm.
again, like I always think about like when I think of my management team, like they all have to have the same values as myself, right? They'll have to be resilient. They'll have to hold themselves accountable, solutions oriented, have a strong platform of inclusion, be people first. But beyond that, every leader is going to have a little different flavor that they bring to the table. So those are just things that like I think about right now. Um, that just I think will make a difference. And last is listening to your gut, like female intuition. Every time I don't listen to it, I've screwed myself. So that's my other big thing in 2023,
Mhm.
listening to like what my gut's telling me.
I love all that. And the empathy is so important, and not a lot of leaders have it. And it's really, it's hard to interview for, and it's hard until you really see the interaction with the team and with their leadership management team. And it is exhausting when it doesn't work, but when it's right, it's so golden, right?
It's like
And
so precious.
it's perfect. It is. And you're like, oh my goodness, these are my people. Like, this is our team. This is who our clients need. Like they will make the biggest difference in the world for them. So I love everything that you said. And I really, so what keeps you going and ticking during those, the 36 hours of firing misery and and uh, the, the tough days and the good days?
I would just say knowing that like, look, I'm not in the business of selling widgets, right? I think I was selling a widget would be very different, but knowing that there's ultimately a patient who can come out of whatever their notion of suffering is because of what we're doing is really what keeps me going. And again, like because I was a patient for so long, I
Mhm.
just know what that suffering is like. And so that's really why like, and that like the decisions are tough every day, but my moral compass and my notion for what we can do for the country is really what makes me make these big decisions. But and lastly, what I'll say is that the funny, ironic piece of this whole thing called life is that you nausea yourself for 3 days. You're like, and then you let the person go, and then the team is like, "Oh, thank you, right?
Right. What
Like,
took you so long?
And I was like, well, I didn't want you guys to think I was like a monster, and they were like, Carrie, like, thank you, like they were like so those are things, and that like I just you live and you learn, right? The other thing I would say too is because we're so mission driven. I'm sure you recognize I rarely say the word woman. That's something that I've learned with a very young company. And so as we try to change the paradigm and the notion of different types of humans in our country, is
Mhm.
that I try to learn as well from my employees and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's easy, don't give it
Right.
in a cancel culture, it's not that easy, but
Right.
I do. The one thing I do is I apologize for my mistakes right away. Right. Like
Yes.
again, the humility, the like
Right.
vulnerability. I'm very much I cry on conference calls because I'm a human. Like I always remind people like I'm also human.
Right.
Um, even though
Well,
I
and
am
that's also challenging, timed with you stepping into and showing up as the leader for the next level of your company, right? The next revenue size or the next big transaction, whatever that is, right? So you stepping up to being that CEO that you need to be, right? That you're going into, right? It's almost sometimes, but if you stay true to yourself and your core values, then that's always there. Like you said, your gut, your empathy, your moral compass.
but in that like I wanna say it is hard. It is a really hard, and you know this yourself. Like you're also like a female CEO and entrepreneur, right? Like we will always get compared to our other gender, right? And There are names I've been called,
Mhm.
and I can tell you, like, those names I really hurt me because I don't think those are things I do. Um, but I'm a strong, like, to run a company, you got to be a strong person,
You
right?
do.
And
You
so,
do.
but I will say I understand now why so many women opt out of this title. I I really get it. The days are, to your point, super hard sometimes, and again, what gets me out of bed is like I don't know how to give up again. But if people like you and I can keep on having conversations like this, that we can show the next generation of female leaders who are contemplating this, that you can do it. It might be messy, but you can do it.
Absolutely. And you're making so many great things happen, Carrie. It's remarkable. It's amazing. So leave us with this. Do you have a personal mantra or words to live by, or like your personal phrase that you say whenever you have those moments of doubt or negativity that you go to?
I do. I had when I was an analyst, I had a naval commander who left the Navy to be an associate. He said, Carrie, let me be clear with you. Every problem has a solution. It's just how hard do you want to look for that solution? And every day in that, I can't tell you, like, I'll stop and be like, my thing is I take a breath. There's power in the breath, right?
Yes.
Again, I take a deep breath, sometimes two. And I just remind myself, Carrie, like, every problem has a solution. You've done hard things before. You look back on this moment and just say to yourself, like, girl, you crushed it, right? And so again, like, those are things that, those are probably my two biggest things I remind myself. I've been through hard things and every problem has a solution, and then breathe it in, breathe it out.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So where can we find you? Where can we support you? Where can we support the company? Tell us everywhere where to find you.
So you can find me on all the handles, Instagram, LinkedIn, simplehealth.com. Please come on the website. We would love to have anyone here who's listening see what we're going to start doing. Again, like, if you don't want birth control in a month's time, come for us for all the other stuff that we're going to bring. But I'm really, really excited to sort of have these conversations in the front, no longer in the back, or as a let's whisper about it. So again, just really being loud and proud is really what I want to make sure that, anyone who is born with an ovary or, identifies as a woman can realize that we are a great, type of people that can get stuff done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So good. Carrie, thank you so much for being here. I loved every minute of our conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Annette.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Wow. What an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@ievolveconsulting.com. Hit subscribe, and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.